Good day, everybody. I'm here with our partner, Thalia Ghiglia, and she has been partnered with DC Recovery Community Alliance. I am the outreach coordinator. My name is Brian Person. And I asked her to come and share her expertise on fentanyl and opioid overdose use in the national area. The Peer Operator Center is founded on that substance use disorders can be changed and helped by being monitored with peer coaching. Peer coaches are here at DC Recovery, and what they do is they follow a person from end to end throughout their recovery. This month is National Recovery Month. National Recovery Month means that we have to focus on what the problems are and what the solutions are. Thalia is here to share her information and on fentanyl and opioid use. And without further ado, I give you Thalia.
All right. So so thanks, Brian. My name is Thalia Ghiglia again, and I'm representing the Foundation for Drug-Free World here in Washington, D.C. And I've been asked to do a lot of talks on a lot of different drug education subjects, but in particular, I've really focused on fentanyl and opioids in the last few years because fentanyl it's a killer.
Yeah.
And it's it's really there's people are talking about fentanyl poisoning now more than even just fentanyl overdose, because people are really, fentanyl is acting as poison.
Yes.
It's so strong, it's 50 times stronger than heroin, which is already giving people a hard time, but it's 50 times stronger than heroin, it's 100 times stronger than morphine, and so it's very, very powerful. It only takes 2 milligrams can kill an adult, and of course different people have different tolerances.
Yes.
But your kids, it's starting to percolate into kids now, and it's frightening for parents because I remember talking to some parents at a DC Police Beat the Streets event not too long ago, and a lot of people have started hearing about fentanyl, which is good.
Yeah.
But about 95% of the parents had no idea
knowledge.
just how deadly it was.
Yeah.
And I had a pamphlet from the DEA that because we actually have a fentanyl front. The Drug-Free World has a fentanyl booklet that's being worked on, but it's not ready yet. And so there's a picture where you can see a penny and you can see how much fentanyl it takes to kill an adult.
Yeah.
And they, one for one, they were, maybe one person was like, yeah, I know,
Okay.
but the other guys had absolutely no idea just how little it took.
Yeah.
So when you look at that, how do you cut that? You can't actually cut that properly. There's no way somebody is going to die.
Yes.
And so that's the problem with fentanyl. Somebody is going to die, but it's so cheap. It's so cheap to make. It's so cheap it's so strong that you only need a tiny little bit, so it's easy to move across the border.
Yeah.
It's it's the strongest thing around. So that's the thing that people are going to use. And when you get somebody hooked on fentanyl, they're the perfect customer. They're never gonna leave you, because from what I understand, there's no such thing as a functioning fentanyl addict.
Right.
It just takes over. It's so strong. It just takes over an individual so much. It's very, very fast acting, but it doesn't last very long. So an individual needs to replenish multiple times a day. And so if you have even from a strictly business standpoint, you have a recreational cocaine user. He's going to come to you maybe once every 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Right? You put some fentanyl in there. Now he gets hooked on the fentanyl. Now he's at your door every single day.
Yeah.
Right? If he survives it.
Let me stop and cut in for a second. I do outreach for DC Recovery, and I've gone to certain of our partners, and I've talked to folks, and one guy said the overdose on weed.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, really? So now I found out they're cutting fentanyl with everything. It's in weed, it's in coke, it's in heroin, and the word on the street with most of the folks that I talk to is there's no more heroin in DC. It's all fentanyl.
I've heard that too. I I can't tell you 100%, you know, but that's all the same thing that I've heard, because why bother? I mean, you know, the production, the fentanyl production line basically has actually also shifted, because you know when you're talking about heroin, you're talking about cocaine, you're talking about plant-based drugs. You know, you have to start with a plant, you have to start with a crop. That means you have to farm it. That means you're dependent on the weather. You have to hide that crop from the government. You have to hide it from the planes that are trying to kill the crop. You have to protect it, so you need a militia. You have, I mean, and you can only grow it during the growing season.
So
I mean,
Big Brother has to know about this.
Who needs that? But who needs that kind of aggravation when you've got fentanyl, which is made in the lab, you can do it underground, 365, and it doesn't matter what the weather is, it doesn't matter what's going on outside, and you just need a couple of chemists and you can make just a tremendous amount of fentanyl and then sell it, you know,
easily to market,
easily,
in the community easily, because people are looking for a cheap high.
That's right.
Very cheap high. Like
fentanyl is very, very cheap.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yeah. So that's what the cartels have done, and they've shifted from the heroin, from the cocaine. I mean, we still have, you know, we still have heroin, we still have cocaine, but you know, if you're gonna be able to just add a little bit of fentanyl in there, boom, you only need a little bit of heroin, right? You don't have to worry about its purity. You don't have to, you know, and that's just those two. Now, let's talk about the pills, right? The fentanyl pills, right? So you know, the part of how the opioids came into this country, and it's a little bit different for DC, but now it's starting to blur. You know, these lines are now being blurred because there's a huge, in this country, there's a huge desire for pills. There's a huge desire for, give me something that's going to handle my problem just like that. I don't have time, I don't have the patience, I want it now, right? So, okay, give me a pill, great, this is going to handle it, good, I'm going to take that pill, right? Well, that's how opioids started killing this country, right? Well, so you already had a high pill demand, right? So the cartels were already starting to make fake oxycodone, right? Fake, well, the Percocet pills, right? With the Percocet pills, right?
Yes.
And the you know, the Perc 30s, the blue pills, right? Also Adderall, also Xanax, right? So they were making these fake pills, but they actually had fake. Well, I mean, you know, they had non-pharmaceutical grade Xanax. They had not, you know, but not anymore. They said, who needs that kind of work?
Right,
if you just put, you can just put fentanyl and filler in everything. It doesn't matter. You just, it's right. Who's gonna complain, right? And so that's, their pill presses have gotten really, really good. And so you're creating these same, they look exactly the same. They look like Adderall. So there you got a kid on the street who's like, yeah, I just want an Adderall for, you know, help me study. I'm gonna get it from my friend, and then boom, he's dead.
Or our elderly community.
Or the elderly community, yeah, I want a Percocet, you know, I want something to you know, help my pain. A lot of people are in pain, you know, and that's one of the things that, you know, that's how we got into this mess. A lot of people are in pain.
Well, what they did was they focused on the areas where they were hard workers, and where there were the coal mines and things like that, where people worked manual labor, and so that's where the pain was first distributed out to. Oxycodone was derived from Big Pharma.
Well, yeah, for sure. Well, you have. I mean, there's different streams. You know, here in that definitely happened in West Virginia and a lot of the country. Here in DC, you know, you had the longtime heroin users who got hooked over in Vietnam and came back.
Exactly.
That here in DC, you know, you had 40-year plus functional heroin users, right? And these individuals were starting to get picked off by the introduction of fentanyl into the heroin supply, right? And in the beginning, also, just a few years ago, we did get a little bit of carfentanil. And carfentanil is 100 times stronger than fentanyl, right? Carfentanil is actually on the list of bioweapons.
Wow.
And so that just started picking people off, right? But you're correct when you brought up West Virginia. You brought up that was the whole that's the whole thing that started, you know, in the 1990s with let's really take care of pain. You know, we're not treating pain, and there was a conversation about pain, but there was also a great push from the pharmaceutical companies. You know, one in particular that's been heavily in the news, but that just really promoted their product as being, you know, a fantastic pain killer, but not being. They were saying it wasn't addictive, right? That's right. If you're doing it properly with a doctor, but that wreaked havoc on this country, and then that has also come over and I believe has hit DC as well. So the combination of the two things is not a good combination.
Well, the FDA had a guy sign that off so it can go through, and then what he did later on, he went and joined with the.
You watched the Netflix. You watched the.
Of course.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah.
I
so
did too.
I was like, oh my God, you know. So he was already destined to be set in place, and this guy was adamant about making sure this thing goes through. And sure enough, years later, here it is. It's right upon us. And we really got to answer it, especially in the district. The highest number of deaths of fentanyl are black men. Mm-hmm. And I got to check my numbers. I think it's between 25 and 55. And so that means a lot of times folks in the area are not aware of the dangers of using this fentanyl. Now, in fact, not only are they aware, they don't care. Let's put it like that. Once somebody gets addicted, their thing is just to get it. It's not going to happen to me or happen to you. And so we're here to try to educate folks, to tell them this doesn't have to happen, and find the right way to do it, and make sure that if you do it, make sure it's for the reasons that you need it for.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, let's hold on for a minute. I want to take a call from the community and see exactly what they think about this discussion we're having. One of the things, while I'm waiting for the call, I want to let people know that we are located up here at 5656A, 3rd Street Northeast, and we're not far from the Fort Totten subway station, and the community comes here a lot to get educated on the facts of fentanyl use and substance use disorders. We're one of 4 peer-operated centers that only specialize in substance use disorders. So we want folks to know that we're here and we're ready to help whenever we can. Whether they're taking them from their parents. Okay, looks like we have a call here. We're going to take a call from the community. Let's see what's going on. Hello, DCRCA, this is Brian. What's your question? Hello, Carl, are you there?
Why are we talking about? Excuse me?
I'm sorry, are you there? I didn't hear you. Could you ask me the question?
Yes, I'm calling because I would like to know why are everybody talking about opioid overdoses in DC when West Virginia is leading the most in opioid deaths?
That's a good question. We're going to answer that right now. Hold on. Dahlia, she wants to know why are we talking about opioid deaths here in DC when West Virginia is the leading place in opioid deaths for fentanyl.
Well, you have to look at mortality rate. She's right. DC is number 3 in mortality rate in the country, and you know, DC's lost over 450 some odd people, I think last year, just to opioids, and 98% of those deaths were related to fentanyl.
Yes.
So you know, I think the number of total overdose deaths somewhere around 650, 625, 650. I'm not sure. HIPS has that number, but it's you know, this is double the number of homicides here in DC.
Yeah.
You know, I was just in the Trinidad area a week or so ago, and they lost 15 people to fentanyl just in that small little area.
Yeah.
So you know, we're losing people, and they're getting younger, and it's just not okay.
They have a little park right there on Benning Road. Benning Road crosses Bladensburg, and I've done a few opioid calls there when they're overdosing, and I've administered Narcan. I'm the Narcan we're a Narcan distribution site here, and I've used the Narcan, and I've noticed that, man, mainly if it's fentanyl involved, fentanyl is not an opioid, so it doesn't block the fentanyl. But what it is, no, fentanyl is an opioid. Yeah, fentanyl is an opioid. So what happens is it takes almost 2 or 3 Narcan to bring them back. It used to be just one, and you wait and call 911. I've used up to 2 or 3 packets of Narcan on one individual, and then when the police come and arrive and the EMTs arrive, they have to give them oxygen. Now it's not unusual that they'll walk away, walk a few feet down, and they'll pass out again. So they really should say, yes, I want to go to the hospital, but most of them say, no, I don't want any help, I don't want any help.
Right.
So this fentanyl is making it even worse. And then we have this new thing coming in town called Trank. And so it's mixed with Trank and fentanyl. And so that's what I mean. That's the thing that's not an opioid. The Trank is, so it's kind of tricky. So we're getting a lot of deaths. They all also have something called boot that the young folks are doing. So it's all kinds of things that litter the area with drugs and overdoses. So we have to really be diligent on getting out to the community and informing them exactly what's going on, because I don't think most people are aware. Well, I'm not sure if everybody else has been fed, but I've been fed. And I'd like to thank Thalia for coming through and giving us this information she has. And is there any closing remarks you would like to say, or something that you want to push forward to the community in closing?
Well, first off, I just want to thank you for inviting me. It's always a pleasure.
Always.
And so, in closing, there was an article in Science News in April of 2023, and it talked about fentanyl deaths spiking among U.S. children and teens, and we don't want to see that here in DC. So we want to make sure that everyone is well educated, parents are well educated, so that they can protect their children, and protect their grandparents. Grandparents are educated. Everybody's educated, so that we don't want people to get into that pipeline in the first place.
Yeah.
Because it's a short runway. It's not a good ending, and people can get off of that. They absolutely can, and I encourage everybody to do that. But we want to prevent as much as we can, and so that's I think that's the really important thing to do here.
Thank you so much. Lastly, we are a Narcan distribution center, and we want the community to know that they can come to our office, and if they don't, they can go to any Walgreens or CVS and they can get Narcan free. And in the event that you're worried about saving someone, based on the Good Samaritan law, you will be held liable legally if you try to help somebody and something happens that may become alternative than what you expect. So please get the Narcan, have it on you at all times if you can. Keep it in your car. If you don't have anybody that uses illegal drugs, or if it's anybody you might think going to overdose, you need to have it on you.